And we're back here at Boom and Bust talking about defense innovation with Matt Tompkins and Stephen Saideman. Matt, had to cut you off there. Please continue your point.
Yeah, it's no problem at all. All I was going to say was one of the ways that Canada is also showing how they're contributing here is NATO has centers of excellence. Usually countries have one up to three centers of excellence, and it's a way to establish a good, I guess, footprint and understanding how we're attacking specific problems. So on March 20th, they'll be hosting a meeting on climate change and security. And again, this has a really nice dual use purpose. If you're talking about energy security, the technologies and the companies that are going to be building the technologies to help you in that area are going to be very well balanced. So I think those are key dates for people to kind of make sure that they're attending and who's going and how can they be a part of it. I was also a mentor with the Canada Creative Destruction Lab, which came out of the University of Toronto. Cannot say enough good things about that program. It was a dual-use technology accelerator that helped national security and defense, but also had a really strong commercial footprint. So these are both events and areas of specific programs where Canada is being a part of the world ecosystem in defense innovation.
Yeah, thanks for that, Matt. Stephen, do you feel that Canada is getting the most out of defense innovation hubs? Then are we doing some good stuff there?
It's really hard to say, actually, because we don't really know what the output is. It's hard to measure innovation. It's hard to see whether this investment in things like superclusters have really paid off. So I think it depends on project by project. One of the challenges by pushing to produce domestically, there's often a less efficient way of doing things. So the biggest spending program we got in the country is a shipbuilding program. And that has been trying to take what was supposed to be an off-the-shelf design, but turned out to be a design that was not quite off the shelf, and have it be built in Canada by a shipbuilding company. And that has been very slow. It's been very problematic. And so if you use that as an example, that hasn't been terribly innovative and hasn't been terribly effective at producing a bigger bang for the buck. I think some smaller projects that have happened are better demonstrations of getting the various pieces of the Canadian defense and security community to produce things that do provide some innovation. So I'm hesitant to make any grand conclusions about the Canadian environment, simply because it's really hard to measure what innovation looks like and how much progress has been made. I do think that policy-wise, there's been some innovation. For instance, Matt mentioned security centers of excellence. Canada will be the host to the Climate Security Center of Excellence. Canada has not really been in the COE game for NATO. It has not hosted one up to this point in time. It has not been heavily involved in the ones that do exist. But now it's starting up one, and on climate security, which is an issue that the government cares about, that Canadians care about, and it wants to be a leader in that effort. But it's also political too. They want to do something for climate security that doesn't actually involve cutting, let's say, the production of oil in Alberta. So there are political things to be fudged here.
Just sticking with you, Stephen, just for a sec, because we have talked a little bit about the North and this program and Northern security. Any thoughts on how this might help spur on the innovation that is happening, might spur on Indigenous economic development? Have you thought about that at all?
Well, I'm not an expert in that, but I will say that one of the big things about innovation right now in the defense sector is modernizing the northern warning systems. That NORAD has been long overdue for a renovation. And so the government has promised to spend billions and billions of dollars on that. And a lot of that innovation is going to take place in the North. And this government is very much committed to working with the communities of the North. So that way they get a lot of spinoffs and buy-in and employment and facilities that can serve not only the defense sector, but the public at large in the North. So they're hoping to do it better this time, not just imposing these projects on the North, but trying to get the people in the North to help out and figure out what they need and how to make that work with what is needed to provide a better system of sensors and defense bases and all the rest of it. So that's promising, but the proof will be in the pudding, because this is just the very first steps of this major investment. But that should lead to some innovation. And some of that innovation will be, how do we incorporate and include the Indigenous peoples of the North into this effort?
Yeah, I think that's quite hopeful. And I remember one of my acts as a government minister was to travel to the Northwest Territories to actually disconnect the last vestige of the old dew line. And thinking, boy, how times have changed. Cold War's over, dew line no longer necessary. And look, here we are just a few years later, and we're back right into it. We're going to continue with our guests with another segment. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.